Welcome back to the Sweepstakes Baseball podcast where we talk about everything college baseball. And this is the first week that college baseball was back. We got to see some real live at-bats and get into it. So it was really exciting seeing college baseball back, seeing some top players do some amazing things. And overall, yeah, just great to see some college baseball in the flesh.
Yeah, great to be back and great to get some action going. Good couple round robins with some good teams playing each other. No really good series, but good to see some good action going again.
Hey, there are a few good series, a few upsets here and there. And so for this podcast, we're going to start off with going through our prediction results. We had 5 series that we predicted, going through those and seeing how well we did individually. We chose the exact same teams to win, so did end up with the same record there. But after that, we'll be going through top play of the week, player of the week that we individually picked out, and then going through our rankings and how things changed. Not too much of a switch up in that criteria right there, but a few things here or there. So stick around for that. But starting off with our prediction results, we'll have them up on screen now, showing off the games that we chose. We do this and upload it to our YouTube channel every week, so you'll be able to get a live look at what we decided to choose. Also, we post the results or our prediction results on Twitter, so you can stay up to date on our what we decide to choose there. And starting things off, we chose for the first series UCSB at Campbell. Really exciting overall, with a ranked team going to a Campbell team that has proven to be a tough competition through the past few years. And it seemed like UCSB really had the edge early. Obviously, they have a really solid Friday night starter in Matt Agger, and I thought they were going to be able to kind of use that to propel them forward, but just didn't last long enough outside of his performance. They really dominated on Friday, but after that, kind of fell apart. There were close games, but Campbell having that home field advantage was definitely felt. So we were both wrong there since we both chose UCSB. But yeah, really tough competitive series, and looks like both those teams could potentially be ranked.
Yeah, kind of not the most surprising result there, especially with UCSB on the road, but I think it was surprising to see UCSB's pitching staff struggle that much. We know Campbell's had a good offense in the past and expected that again this year, but didn't really expect them to put up as many runs as they did against that pitching staff. But yeah, I think both are solid teams, and both will see some solid time in our rankings for the rest of the year.
Yeah, next up, the next series we chose was ranked Northeastern at Arizona. It's compelling because it is an away series in a unfriendly environment in Arizona. Definitely their field is one you don't see very often with how it plays. Just super big, and pretty much any ground ball in the infield could become a hit. So we both decided to stick with Arizona as the home field advantage, and that did prevail with Arizona taking the series there. Northeastern was competitive, but was just not able to win that rubber match on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see Northeastern be competitive in that series, but even though they were ranked in our rankings, this wasn't a shocking loss, as you can tell with us both picking Arizona to win, and I don't think it's a bad series loss for them in general, traveling across the country and, like you said, playing in a really unique ballpark that they're definitely not used to.
Yeah. And then as the third series, we chose Cal State Fullerton at Stanford. Both California teams. We both chose Stanford, and we were both wrong there. It seems like this might be more of a down year than what some people thought, with some places having Stanford ranked to start out the season. We didn't uh, specifically, but definitely thought this would be a competitive series, and that's why we decided to choose it. And yeah, Cal State Fullerton was able to do damage on a pretty inexperienced Stanford team.
Yeah, I mean, Fullerton almost took this same exact series last season, and this Stanford team is not quite as talented as the team a year before. So we thought this one would be close, but I didn't expect Fullerton to handle them quite as well as they did. They kind of dominated this series, and Stanford's not looking too hot to start the year. I don't think you have to completely hit the panic button yet, but it's really not looking good.
Yeah, Next up, we had Air Force at Mississippi State as a series that we wanted to predict on. Both of us went Mississippi State. Maybe it's the obvious choice because Air Force isn't really a name brand team, but Mississippi State has been down the past few years, so it was good to see them somewhat turn things around, even though it was a pretty competitive series between the two teams.
Yeah, I mean, Air Force has some really talented players on that team, and so we thought it could be a good one. And not surprised to see Mississippi State take it on their home field. But Air Force isn't just a rollover team; they have some real players on that team.
Yeah, and our last series that we chose here was San Diego at ranked Texas. Now, somewhat scraping the bottom of the barrel here. The last two series that we mentioned, just because they're just a lot of the better teams were in these round robin style tournaments over the weekend, and similarly this coming up this week, most better teams are either facing kind of nobodies or are in competitive series, but not consistently facing the same team. So San Diego at Texas was a series that could potentially go one way or another, but obviously the easy choice there was Texas, and that's what we both chose. Being the home team and being ranked, having more talent overall, just was able to overwhelm San Diego, who has been a decent team over the past few years.
Yeah, and San Diego was fairly competitive in the series, took that second game, but yeah, Texas just overwhelmingly more talented, and not a surprise at all to see them take that series in the end.
Yep. So overall, we both ended up 3-2. So stayed positive, even though probably we went the safe route on all those picks, and we're still wrong on two of them. But yeah, it's exciting to see college baseball, and there were a lot of upsets the past weekend, and that was obviously caught in our series predictions there with some of the more obvious picks like Stanford over Cal State Fullerton not coming to fruition there. But now we're gonna jump straight into our top play of the week. We'll play that now.
Everybody's on their feet, man. This fan base is just loving this. This has been a moment that's been talked about since it was even a possibility.
Ball 4 outside.
Probably never be a louder applause for a walk.
And this play is more of a moment, I would say, but Parker Bird with the walk on Friday night for East Carolina a few years after getting his leg amputated in a boating accident is a pretty special moment to just be able to get back on the field and to actually contribute to a team like ECU who is ranked all over the place and should be a really solid team. So inspiration, and definitely should be highlighted there as the top play of the week.
Yeah, I mean, super inspirational. I think a lot of people in similar situations as athletes, I mean, you don't want to see them give up physical activity altogether, but you see a lot of people resort to more simple activities that are easier and everything, but awesome to see him stick with baseball altogether, get his strength back and pursue it again and actually be productive in his outing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And now jumping to player of the week, we decided to go for the man himself, Matt Massiangelo. Got 8 hit by pitches, even though he went 0 for 3. We don't really look at that number there, but 8 hit by pitches. Guy was an absolute beast in the box. Also had a walk, 2 runs, 2 RBI, and really should have had 9 hit by pitches. He had another one that hit him, but the ump decided that he leaned into it there. So we're gonna give him 9 on our scorecard. It says 9 hit by pitches, and that's when you're a team player like that, standing in the box, taking that many balls to wherever on his body, it's you gotta get your props somewhere, and this is the place for it. If you put up plays like that, if you put up numbers in random categories, we're gonna highlight you as our player of the week.
Yeah, I think honestly my player of the week might be the physical trainer that's taking care of him. I mean, the guy's just bruised up and getting bandaged up the whole weekend, so I'm sure it wasn't that bad, but I'm sure he's needed some taking care of as well.
100%. He might have gotten a well-deserved rest day more than other players out there if that's the case. But Yeah, definitely super awesome performance there, even though not seeing it in a typical category out there. But after that, we are now going to jump into our rankings. Not too many switch ups here, just because, it's so early. You kind of have to stick with your guns for a little bit at least to kind of see how things settle out and not be, too crazy with moving teams up and down at this point in time. But definitely some movement. We don't want to, not reward teams for playing well, and some teams didn't have the best weekend, so drop them back a few spots, even if they, did win their series. But it is important to play good teams and get good results out of that. So if you're just taking the easy way out and playing nobodies every week before conference play, you shouldn't be getting rewarded for that. At least in our system.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is definitely a long run sport and more so about being consistent than any singular performance. I think that's true as a player and as a team. You're going to have bad moments, good moments, but it's really about what you can do over the course of a series, over the course of an entire season. And so, yeah, not going to be a lot of changes in our first week. Yeah, especially for some of the really talented teams that, didn't perform quite as well as you would hope, but that's still in there. And so, yeah, not going to overreact to too much.
100%. So we will start off our rankings at number one. Staying at number one is Wake Forest. Went 3-0 against Fordham, Illinois, and Akron. Not amazing competition. You might be able to consider Illinois a more middle of the pack team than the rest of them, but yeah, not the biggest, most important games, but still was able to look dominant in all of those and get those wins out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, just handled business, nothing crazy impressive, but I think the most exciting thing for the weekend was seeing Chase Burns in a Wake Forest uniform for the first time. Looked incredible, fastball up to 100 and 101, and really dominated, as you'd expect, but good to see him in a different environment, and I think good preview of what's to come for the season for him.
Yep. And then at two, we decided to stay with Florida, even though they lost the only game they played. There was inclement weather around the area the entire weekend, so only got one game in against St. John's and did eventually lose that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little too early to move things around that much after only getting one loss and only playing one game.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to leave things up to assumptions, but you almost just feel like if they played the other two games, they go 2-1 on the weekend and are sitting there, no questions asked. So hard to just play one game, but you really can't doubt the talent of that squad and just the whole team makeup altogether after just one game.
Yeah, and I think we'll be a little bit more harsh if they have a bad weekend coming up next week. If that's the case, then we'll drop them more than a standard team, and because that's, I guess considering back-to-back bad weekends if you take in this one loss into account. But after that, followed up another SEC team, Arkansas, 2-1 versus James Madison. So again, not amazing competition, and getting a loss there isn't great, especially when they had the opportunity to sweep and weren't able to capitalize on that. So kind of let them potentially get jumped in the future, and maybe if they do go 3-0 there, they're able to jump Florida, but weren't able to do that, and maybe because the competition was not as great as it could be, then you got to be making those moves, and jumping teams like Florida when they have a little bit of a down week.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to sweep and take care of business when you can against lesser teams, but I do think it says something that they won the Friday and Saturday game. Those are the two most important ones for the most part. I mean, the Sunday one is kind of a toss up a lot of times. You're back on the back end of the pitching staff and bullpen, and so anything can happen on a Sunday. We know that, but yeah, would have liked to see them win it, but not necessarily expected either.
Yeah, and then we have LSU at 4, went 3-0, so good results for the entire weekend, but did face VMI twice and Central Arkansas. So again, not super tough competition, and makes you wonder. I mean, obviously they're in the SEC, so they can rack up those quality wins later in the year, but would like to see teams like this and go into maybe those round robin style tournaments, or at least face better competition earlier in the season to, test the players and get them out there and see what you can really get out of them early in the season.
Yeah, I guess it could be a little bit of a championship hangover, just starting the season easy and, yeah, continuing to dominate, but took care of business and really what you expect with the competition they were going against.
Yeah, and following that up at number 5, we stayed with Oregon State 3-0 as well over the weekend versus New Mexico, Minnesota, and Cal State Bakersfield. Not great competition, but it is like a tournament style in Arizona there, where they pretty much always start the year out, and so they just get the competition that decides to show up for that. But yeah, good results, just not best competition. Pretty much rinse and repeat for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, another instance of handling business, but kind of what you expect, and that's the story for quite a bit of these rankings.
Yeah, and then at 6, staying again with TCU, also went 3-0. This was a series against Florida Gulf Coast. Pretty competitive there, but as we saw last year, Florida Gulf Coast was a team that could beat some good teams every now and then and ended up being a pretty solid squad overall. So not docking them too hard for being in a competitive games, and they still went 3-0, so TCU got the job done there.
Yeah, not shocking to see the games be competitive, but if you're the pitching staff, I don't think you like giving up 25 runs on the weekend. Not really a good look. Florida Gulf Coast is decent, like you said, knocked off some teams last year and definitely have put up some offensive numbers recently, but still not a team you want to be giving up 25 runs to on a weekend.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then at 7, we stayed with Tennessee as well, 2-1. So did have a loss there, but was in the Shriners College Baseball Showdown in Arlington. So against decent teams, won against Texas Tech, lost to Oklahoma, and then beat Baylor on the final day. And I think Tennessee, they looked pretty legit. So AJ Causey and Drew Beam as the two starters, really solid. Uh, and it surprised me that Drew Beam was not the Friday guy, ended up starting on Saturday and might have been outdone. So did end up losing that game, but wasn't really his fault there. Looks like they got a very solid squad overall.
Yeah, definitely solid team, and the 1-5 loss to Oklahoma is a little deceiving. That thing was 1-1 all the way through until they gave up that 4 spot. So it was a close game all the way through, and yeah, definitely don't doubt the talent and makeup of this team.
Yep, and then at 8, we have our first change in ranking with Duke jumping up one spot. They went 3-0 against Indiana, George Mason, and what was number 20 Coastal Carolina. So really good weekend overall. I mean, beating a ranked team isn't much other teams can say for this past week, and I think they deserve to jump up. Really showed that the bullpen is still the same, still dominant, and looks like they have a legit Friday guy now. So that pitching staff is extremely dangerous.
Yeah, like you said, not necessarily incredible competition, but good competition. And yeah, you don't want to be down late against these guys. We saw it in both the Indiana and Coastal Carolina games. If they're up late, it's pretty easy for them to slam the door shut and close it out. So yeah, really solid team and deserving of moving up a bit.
Yeah, and that can be a real mental block throughout the season for good teams when they're facing Duke. That if they're down late, it's just well, I guess we can't do anything about that. So definitely something to keep an eye out for because you can just lose all momentum if they decide to bring in these top-notch relievers there. After that, number 9, we had Texas A&M drop back one spot, even though they went 3-0. Usually, you don't see teams go backwards when they have a pretty dominant weekend like this, but it was against McNeese, so a little bit of grain of rice there that you got to be playing better competition and capitalizing, getting those good wins against solid opponents to be able to maintain your position like that if there's somebody right on your tail.
Yeah, there's not too many times you're going to see a team go 3-0 with a 31-1 run differential on the weekend and go back a spot, but definitely more so a testament to what we saw from Duke. And yeah, really solid team. And and really a belief in the talent on that team. I think we're still very high on A&M as well, but yeah, Duke just did it against better competition this week and certainly asserted themselves a little more early in the year.
Yep. And then at 10, we stayed with East Carolina after they went 3-0 versus Rider. It was a dominant series. Again, not great competition, but got the job done.
Yeah, continuing this pool of schools in the Carolinas, and yeah, handled business as you'd expect against a school like Rider, unfortunately. But yeah, good to see them handle the weekend easily.
And at 11, we have NC State went 2-1 versus VCU, so did lose a game there, but they got the job done the other two, and there wasn't a team right behind them that was super amazing. Right behind them was Vanderbilt. We'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, NC State could have been jumped if there had been better results around them.
Yeah, just a so-so weekend. Won the series, but weren't super impressed necessarily, but not down on them either. Still like them as a squad overall.
Yeah, and then at 12, we decided to jump Clemson up a few spots after they went 3-0 versus Xavier. I think the main reason we did this is Xavier has proved themselves to be a decent competition. They were the conference champions last year, so seeing that was impressive to get a sweep for Clemson there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely nice to see them sweep some solid competition, like you said. Not sure Xavier will be as good this year as they were last year, but still a solid program, and you know, still an impressive sweep to pull that out.
Yep, and then at 13, we dropped Vanderbilt down just a little bit. They went 2-1, so still won the series against Florida Atlantic, but they were probably the luckiest team out there to win the series out of a lot of these teams that we've mentioned. Friday, they had to make a pretty big comeback in the ninth to be able to win that game. They got it done, so got to give them props there. But this is a team that we both have kind of shown that we don't think has that Vanderbilt style that we've seen in the past, and this is definitely reminiscent of what we think the team could be.
Yeah, I do think it was a little bit of a testament to our preseason prediction. I mean, you had them as the most overrated team, and it was kind of looking like that the Friday game when they were down late going into the bottom of the ninth, able to pull it out. But yeah, not necessarily the performance you were looking for at all from them this weekend.
Yep. And then after that, we have Virginia also dropping back a spot because Clemson jumped up a few. They went 3-0, so another team that went 3-0 but went against Hofstra and had two pretty close games there. So want to see better performances against bad teams like that to be able to hold a spot over Clemson, who had to go against Xavier and did a better job.
Yeah, I mean, they put up big offensive numbers the whole weekend, but you'd like to see the pitching staff handle things a little better on that Friday and Sunday game. Not a bad weekend at all since you still pull out the sweep, but it's not always ideal to be giving up that many runs to a so-so team.
Yep. And then at 15, we have Texas. They went 2-1 versus San Diego in a competitive series, as one of the series we decided to predict. And proved to be relatively competitive because San Diego has proven to be a decent squad over the past few years. Texas got the job done, but still impressive, even though they did lose one game.
Yep, just took care of business. Like you said, San Diego's decent squad, so didn't necessarily expect a sweep there. We thought this would be a competitive series, but if you're Texas, it's still one you expect to win, and good to see them pull that off.
Yep, did the job there. And then at 16, we have South Carolina, went 3-0 versus Miami of Ohio. So it could be a little bit more impressive if it was the other Miami, but that's just not the case. Another team that they should be probably sweeping. They got the job done, so staying at that 16 spot or I guess, going up one spot because UCSB did not have a good weekend. So jumping up one spot just because teams around them did not perform as well as they potentially should have.
Yeah, once again, just a case of handling lesser competition and just taking care of the weekend like you'd expect.
Yep, and that 17, similar spot. UCLA went 3-0 versus Gonzaga. Don't really know how to gauge this Gonzaga team. We've seen them as a really good competition the past few years, but last year kind of fell off a cliff. So we'll see if they've rebuilt a little bit or they're kind of still that team that got beat by pretty much every top team. Every top team in the top 25 was able to kind of handle Gonzaga after they put together a really tough schedule last year. And yeah, UCLA got the job done there.
Yeah, I mean, tight Friday game, but after that, UCLA handled them pretty easy, and I think the talent was evident in this series for UCLA. I mean, there was a lot of question marks heading into the season with guys with a lot of top end talent, but weren't necessarily proven yet. And I think this was a really good start for them and good outlook for the rest of the year.
Yep. And at 18, we have Iowa went 2-1 on the weekend versus Seton Hall, Ball State, and then lost to Lehigh. So not great competition. Would have liked to see them sweep, but took advantage of other teams not doing so well around them and are able to actually go up one spot.
Yeah, just a solid weekend overall. Like you said, don't really want to drop that Sunday game, especially to Lehigh, but still positive on the weekend and still a positive outlook moving forward.
Yeah. Next up at 19, we have North Carolina jumping up a few spots there. 3-0 versus Wagner in a dominant series. Kind of what you want to see from North Carolina, where we do think there might be some question marks, but able to really turn it up against lesser competition.
Yeah, made me eat my words a little bit, at least for 1 week, with how much they dominated this weekend. But yeah, we'll see how things go moving forward. But certainly looked good in this first weekend.
Yep, and then another team against lesser competition at 20 was Alabama. Move up, looks like 4 spots in our rankings. Went 3-0 versus Manhattan. Should be sweeping them, but yeah, did that, and other teams weren't able to handle their competition as well. So yeah, took care of business and are able to jump up a decent amount at the back end of our rankings.
Yeah, I think this is the last case we have in the rankings of the simple 3-0 sweep against teams you should beat. So good for them taking care of business, but nothing crazy impressive.
Yeah, and then at 21 we have the team that has dropped back the most so far in our rankings. UCSB was 16 last week, but went 1-2 at Campbell. Maybe a little harsh to drop them back this far because they faced good competition on the road, but you would really like to see them kind of carry the momentum from Friday, where they crushed Campbell, and be able to get at least one more win. Really missed opportunity there for UCSB to prove that they are a top 25 team and up there.
Yeah, and like we stated earlier, it's just you really don't expect them to give up 20 runs in this series either. The strength for this UCSB team is the pitching staff, and so to give up that many runs, it's not really surprising that they lost the series. You're going to expect the pitching staff to do a lot better moving forward in order for this team to be successful.
Yeah, and if you're like a UCSB player or whatever, you want to be able to win a series like this to prove that you're a team to kind of be scared to play, because UCSB doesn't get that many chances to face decent competition, and so kind of let that one slip after winning a Friday game. Little unfortunate there. But after that, we have our first team to jump into the rankings at 22. We have Indiana after they went 2-1 on the weekend, lost to Duke, who was at the time our number 9 team in the nation. So not a terrible loss to have there as a team that high up. And then played Coastal Carolina and was able to beat them. And since it was at Coastal's field, got that win on the road technically, and then was able to finish things off with a win versus George Mason. So really impressive week, facing really good competition overall. So think that they deserve to jump in the rankings there.
Yeah, one of the most impressive wins of the week, beating Coastal at their home field, like you said, at Coastal, and yeah, probably the best loss out of any of the teams in the rankings now, losing to Duke. So 2-1, not something you'd necessarily expect for a team jumping in, but handled business against good competition and really looked the part.
Yep. And then at 23 now, staying at 23, we have Kansas State. Even though they went 2-1, they got jumped by Indiana into the rankings. The games they played would have been nice to see them go 3-0. They lost to Cal and then beat Boston College and Georgetown. So I think Cal has maybe proven themselves to be a team that should be looked at in the future to be ranked if they can continue to get decent wins there. But Kansas State had the opportunity to jump up a decent amount in the back end of the rankings if they're able to get the job done there and just weren't able to. So had some opportunity and missed out.
Yeah, kind of a tough start. Dropped the first game and really tight games against BC and Georgetown in the next two as well. So would have liked to see them handle things a little easier and have the weekend go a bit smoother, but still a positive outlook. And at the end of the day, if you win 2 out of 3 on the weekend, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, not bad overall, but we have mentioned that the Big 12 has a lot of these teams right around the back end of the top 25, maybe just on the other side, that are trying to prove themselves, and there will be a lot of competition around that area. So the conference will be interesting to see how it plays out. And Kansas State right now has the edge over some of these other teams, but right behind them at 24, we decided to move up Texas Tech from out of the rankings after going 2-1 over the week. They lost to Tennessee, so another top loss, but able to beat Nebraska and Oregon the final 2 days to kind of turn things around. And prove that they probably should be a ranked team, at least now. They were just outside the top 25, maybe that 26th team going into to week one there. So they proved that against good competition, they can turn things up and play good games.
Yeah, just right outside of our rankings last week and had a solid weekend, winning 2 out of 3 and right up there with Indiana with probably the one of, if not the most, the quality loss out of teams in this rankings, dropping to Tennessee. Not a loss to look down on, and so good weekend, and yeah, it was kind of a good fit for them to jump in with some teams dropping out.
Yeah, and then finishing up our top 25, ending things with Campbell jumping into the rankings as well. We have a few teams drop out, so enough spots for Campbell to take care of that opportunity. Went 2-1 versus what was number 16 UCSB, and I think it just proves a little bit how much grit that Campbell has after losing big on Friday. Being able to turn things around and take the series is really impressive, even though it was at home. To be able to get that job done, at least for now, is deserving to be in the rankings.
Yeah, I do think it's super impressive to bounce back from that Friday game. When you give up a 20 spot to open up the series, that can be pretty demoralizing and hard to really have positive vibes walking back into the locker room on Saturday. But they pulled it together, got some gritty wins, and came out on top of this weekend with a nice upset series over a ranked team.
Yeah, and now mentioning the teams that did drop out of our top 25, starting with Coastal Carolina, was at 20, but they went 1-2, beat George Mason, which was the team that they should be taking care of, and then lost back-to-back days versus Indiana and Duke. So good competition, but got to be winning at least one of those games. If you're Coastal Carolina, you gotta get 2 wins to kind of prove yourself as a team, as a mid-major that isn't going to be facing great competition week in, week out. So gotta capitalize there and just wasn't able to. So dropped out of the rankings, but could be coming back in pretty soon if they're able to turn things around.
Yeah, I mean, not a terrible weekend for them. Not what you want, but yeah, I think they'll still be on the fringe of our rankings, and won't be surprising to see them jump back in the near future.
Yeah, and then at 22, we had Northeastern. They dropped out after going 1-2 at Arizona. We mentioned this earlier. Really tough place to play, but an Arizona team might be having a little bit of a down year. We'll have to see. So could be end up being not bad loss, but right now, as things stand, Arizona coming into the season was not, highly picked in the Pac-12 to end. So yeah, not the best loss right now.
Yeah, and I think it's especially tough for a team like Northeastern. I mean, we've said a couple of these mid majors aren't going to face good competition the rest of the year, and Northeastern specifically is not going to face really good competition most of the year. So you really want to get those quality wins early on, especially on the road, to boost that RPI. And yeah, this was a tough one to lose this series.
Yep. And then lastly, the last team that dropped out for us was West Virginia at 23. Only went 1-1 on the weekend. It was at Stetson. But another thing to mention now, even though this was after our rankings were established, is JJ Weatherholt might have gotten a little bit of an injury on Monday night game. So we'll have to see how things play out there. But not looking great if there's any sort of longer term injury for Weatherholt, and this West Virginia team might not crack the top 25 again if that's the case.
Yeah, currently listed as day to day, but if you've ever followed sports injuries whatsoever, that means pretty much nothing. Could be out for a couple months for all we know. But yeah, wishing the best for him. Was my preseason player of the year pick, so I'm wishing especially the best for him and hoping for him to get back out there. But yeah, it's going to be tough for West Virginia if they don't have him.
Yeah, never want to see a top player like that go down to injury. I mean, don't want to see any player go down, but especially somebody with that much talent and that much expectation to really carry a team like West Virginia. But after that, I just want to mention a few teams right outside the top 25 for me. I don't know if there are any others in your case, but few for me were Indiana State had a good weekend, went 2-0 versus Louisiana and UConn. UC Irvine, who swept North Dakota State, not a great team to be facing, but I think they were right outside the top 25 to begin with. And then Dallas Baptist also went 3-0 against Southeast Missouri. Really competitive series and probably against a good team. We've seen that SEMO team be pretty competitive, make regionals previously over the past few years. So good series there and was able to sweep, which was really good to see.
Yeah, definitely some good shouts there for some teams right on the outside. Another one I would have there is Oklahoma. Went 2-1 again in that Shriner Showdown and took down Tennessee. Dropped the first game to Oregon, but went 2-1 on the weekend. Solid weekend, and it's impressive when you're able to take down a top 10 team like that, even if it's not for the longevity of a whole series, but still a quality win. And like we said, there's a lot of Big 12 competition right on the fringe of our ranking and barely in it. So that's a team to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, and that Oklahoma win against Tennessee is one of the best wins so far this year. So put that yeah on the awards there. I mean, only Florida and Arkansas have lost a game above Tennessee in our rankings. So yeah, impressive win there for Oklahoma. If they were able to sweep, maybe they make it into our rankings this past week, but just missed out after losing to Oregon. But yeah, really solid teams right outside the rankings, ready to pounce in if any teams slip up in the back half of the rankings. But yeah, that's that for the official sweep rankings, and that'll be the closing remarks of our podcast. We'll have our series predictions for this upcoming week just around the corner in the next few days posted, and yeah, those should be exciting. At least we're having a few other decent games. Looks like better matchups, especially UCLA and TCU and East Carolina and North Carolina. So some really solid top tier matchups. Maybe a few others that aren't super amazing, but definitely better top tier matchups than this past week.